Okay, we are live. Right, welcome back to I don't even know what episode it is of the Wingin It podcast. I've just put the date because I don't know. Probably 4, probably 5, God knows. Anyway, back again with Ben. Um, international break last week. Not a lot to talk about in terms of the international break, apart from Harry Kane died again. Shock. Um,
Harry
but
Kane
yeah,
bags again. Shock.
he bags, but he dives. So well, one outweighs the other.
Swings and roundabouts, son.
Well, yeah, there is always that. But before we get into the football, let's speak about UFC 242, where Khabib Nurmagomedov retained his title again.
You've been practicing that pronunciation. I know you
Well, it took about a month to get it right.
have.
We got it right in the end. We got it right in the end. But yeah, he retained his title. I mean, with exception to the title fight, I don't think there was anything else to speak about on that card.
No,
I
not at
didn't. I
all.
don't knew another. I don't think I knew another fighter on that card.
No, for real. And do you know what? That's why Poirier was so tired, because he was carrying the card with Khabib.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, Khabib don't get tired. He wrestles bears, so
He's a
roundabouts.
beast. He's an absolute beast.
Until he retires, I don't think there's anyone that's going to take that belt off him. I
What is
really,
he? 28 and 0 in the UFC.
28-0 in the UFC and talking about retirement already.
Yeah. To be
I mean,
honest, if there's no competition.
sure, he probably gets more competition in training.
Yeah. To be honest, I think the Bears might fight back a bit.
I mean, I don't even think he's ever gone to a decision.
No, I don't. I don't know.
5 round fight, I don't think he's gone to a decision.
He's just relentless. He doesn't get tired. He makes you carry his weight, and at some point, you're going to offer your back to him, and it's game over from there.
The thing is, with the UFC, despite the fact that it's a 155-pound weight class, if you've got someone like Khabib laying on top of you, you're gonna get tired pretty quick, especially if you've got a smaller frame.
Yeah, for real.
He's got a big frame to carry the weight. Look at someone like Poirier or even McGregor. They've got smaller frames. If you've got someone that big laying on top of you, eventually you're like, oh mate, I can't bother.
Yeah, for real.
Have to
And,
win.
and 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 you know what it is with Khabib? I was actually watching the highlights of that fight again this morning, and it's just how quickly he shoots.
Yeah,
He feints to throw a hook, and before he's even finished feinting, he's grabbed your legs and he's lifting you up, he's taking you down.
yeah, yeah, definitely. I think the other thing with Khabib is sorry, not Khabib. The one thing I would say about that fight is I think Poirier could have won that fight if he had held on to that guillotine.
Yeah, I mean, he did try. He did try. I think Khabib's just one of those guys that, he knows the tricks as well. So, he'll angle his body away from Poirier so that, he has to momentarily loosen his grip to then strengthen it again. And he's just a master of groundwork.
Yeah, no, I mean it's ridiculous.
That being said, Poirier did catch him with a nice hook.
Yeah,
Made him retreat for all of 5 seconds before he came
I mean
storming
to be
back.
fair, when you're fighting someone like Khabib, I think 5 seconds is about the most you're going to win in a fight against him. I think the
Yeah,
only person that's actually taken a round off of him was McGregor, who eventually succumbed to a rear naked choke anyway. So it doesn't matter what you do against this guy, eventually he will win.
yeah.
That just seems the norm now.
I
But
guess the only way to make it competitive is to follow in someone like Lomachenko's footsteps and kind of step up the weight divisions, I guess. But how many weight divisions do you think Khabib's got in him?
I don't think his chin is strong enough to survive the welterweight division. If I'm being honest. Look, you've got fighters like Kamaru Usman. I would love to see a fight between Nate Diaz and Khabib. I think that'd be a very interesting fight because they're both black belts in jiu-jitsu. They're both pretty strong on the feet. I think Khabib rocked McGregor in that fight if I remember
Yeah,
rightly.
he did. He dropped him, sat him down.
So I think Diaz and Nurmagomedov is definitely the fight to make, but we'll have to see what happens with Diaz and Masvidal first.
Yeah,
I don't think Diaz knows what weight class he wants to go into. I
Diaz
think
just wants big fights.
he just wants to go into whatever weight class suits him, really. I mean, the guy turns up. The guy turns up to open workouts and starts smoking a joint.
Yeah,
Like, at this point, I just don't think he cares.
he's my hero for that.
Yeah, no, for sure.
It's performance enhancing. That's what it is.
Oh, definitely. I mean, he didn't get pulled up by USADA, so I mean, it must be legal.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, moving on from that, going into the international break, a couple of things to speak about. Kane and Rashford in the Bulgaria game, both diving to win penalties.
Yeah, I mean, Kane's getting a bit of a reputation now for, I don't want to call it diving. I think he initiates contact. There is contact, whether or not he's initiated it. That there is contact. He got go down a little bit too easily. But I'm willing to kind of overlook that because even when he doesn't impact the game for 90 minutes, he always seems to get on the score sheet. And I'm not saying that, because Rashford doesn't contribute in other ways, it's worse for him to dive than it is for Harry Kane. I think diving in football is, pathetic. It really is. There's nothing other than that you can describe it as. But it's been happening for forever. It will continue to happen. Retrospective bans are not really being enforced, and until there is a deterrent. If you've got the opportunity to win your team a penalty, then why wouldn't you do it? That being said, there isn't any VAR in the internationals, so he's not going to get pulled out. So you might as well try it. But that again questions his, I suppose,
Yeah,
his morals and
I think
what he stands for.
level is there is no retrospective action for diving. That's only enforced in England. So you get to the Euros and you get to the World Cup, there is no retrospective action for diving. So they're not going to go and look at it afterwards and say, "Oh,
Yeah, for sure.
the referee, he should be banned." It's not going to happen. Um,
In bigger
whereas,
news, he missed the penalty. He missed the penalty. It wasn't the Bulgaria game. It was
I
the
mean, he's not.
Kosovo game.
Well, I mean, it's not that surprising. I mean, if they called up Mark Noble, that penalty would have got scored.
Yeah.
Just saying.
To be fair, he's a local lad. He's done well for himself. He's done well for himself because he's never been the fastest. He's never been the fittest. He's never had the best range of passing. But
But
he's
he's world
very
fastest.
yeah, and he's very good at everything. There's
He's
not one.
Mark Noble is a product of hard work and dedication.
Yeah, for sure. He's an East End lad through and through.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely. I mean, apart from that, Bolton takeover's finally gone through.
It has. I'm very pleased about that. It was obviously sad to see the situation at Bury unfold the way it did. It was very likely and very possible, actually, that Bolton's situation could have gone the same way. So, for someone to come out and effectively rescue them and give them at least a shot of staying in the division and becoming competitive again was really good to see.
Yeah, I mean, it's very difficult because they've gone the takeover goes through, and the following day they go and sign 9 players.
Yeah.
Um, what I mean, what are their realistic ambitions for the season? Do they even want to stay in this division? They rather take a step down, go to League Two and rebuild there. Because
I don't think that
League
would be a
One's very
bad
competitive.
shout. Yeah, League One is difficult, and I say that from experience because Charlton have been in League One fairly often in recent years. We got out of it a couple of years ago under Chris Powell, and then found ourselves back in it the season after, and we stayed there for two more years. It's very difficult. It's a competitive club, and every team is brutal. They're physical. The football on display isn't necessarily at a particularly high standard, but the application, the work ethic, the physicality is, present all over that league. It's a
Yeah,
very
I mean,
difficult league to get out of for sure.
yeah, I mean, at this point, I think the Belgian word for yo-yo is Charlton. So, but no, I mean, you're doing well. You're doing well so far. You can't be complaining. You can't complain coming up. And have you even lost yet?
No, we're unbeaten. We are unbeaten, but I suppose the traditional Charlton roadmap is to get everybody excited and then pull the rug from underneath their feet. So, we've got Birmingham at home today, and that would have been a game that I would have said at the beginning of the season, we need to target games like that to pick up the points that we need to stay in the league. Now, I'm thinking we need to pick up wins against teams like this to stay in the playoff contention. And, it's so early on in the season that, a run of 2 games or 3 games without a win, and you're right back in the relegation battle. So, I'm trying to stay level-headed.
Yeah,
But,
I mean,
it's definitely a great start.
Charlton's ambitions for the season need to be 40, 45 points.
For sure.
Whatever
Exactly
you get on
that.
top of that is a bonus.
Yeah, I agree with you. I
Yeah,
agree with you.
for sure. Moving on from Bolton and Charlton and the Championship, we go to the Premier League. Tottenham, winless since the opening day.
All right. Don't sound so smug about it.
Oh, it is quite funny though. Listen. Tottenham have always been known as very pragmatic in the transfer market, very pragmatic in the boardroom. But now they're winless since the opening day. Christian Eriksen hasn't been starting games over fears he was going to leave, and now he hasn't left. Tottenham have got 3 players at the end of the season who have contracts expiring, and I've seen no signs of a contract renewal yet.
Very influential players as well.
Yeah, I mean, you've got Christian Eriksen, Toby Alderweireld, and Jan Vertonghen,
Yeah.
all expiring at the end of the season, and it doesn't look like they're in any position to renew the contract yet.
No.
They're just not interested.
And Vertonghen's not been playing either. Toby's had a run of games. The only thing I'll say about this whole situation, and as much as Tottenham are my Prem team, and as a Premier League Tottenham fan, I don't particularly hold fond feelings towards Arsenal. But if this was Arsenal in the same situation where 3 of their most influential players were in the last 6 months or a year of their contract, Arsenal would be getting ridiculed. And with Tottenham, it doesn't seem to be as.
This is what makes me laugh. Is every time that anything in the transfer market, you spend big on a player. So you spend big on a player, or a contract gets renewed, or it doesn't get renewed, or a player gets released. Arsenal get ridiculed so heavily, and they get ridiculed more than any other team in the league. I can't understand it. Because look at someone like Nicolas Pepe. He's played a couple of games. He's not used to the league. He's still getting to full fitness. Harvey Barnes has scored more goals for Leicester this season than Nicolas Pepe. I'm like,
yeah, same with James at United. They're being compared with Pepe as well. And it's crazy. Obviously, he's made an impact at United. He scored a couple of good goals actually. But Pepe hasn't scored, but every time I've watched him play, he's impacted the game, substantially. He's ghosting past people. Ran past the undribbleable Van Dijk, and if that isn't a word, it needs to be added to the dictionary. He's a good player. He's a good player, but because it's Arsenal, because it was their record transfer, because they're 4 games in or whatever it is, and he hasn't scored, he's a flop, and he's not. He's actually very good. He's got a lot of potential. He's still very young, and he will be a good signing for Arsenal for sure.
yeah, no, for sure. I mean, to be honest, the rumor is Ben Mee's still looking for the ball that went through his legs. So, swings and roundabouts, I suppose. Yeah, I mean, moving on from the Middlesex team, Norwich's injury crisis. Now, this is very, very interesting because they faced Manchester City this weekend, who are known to be ruthless against teams that are coming up.
Absolutely ruthless.
Norwich have 8 players ruled out, with a further 3 doubtful. And the manager, Daniel Farke, said in his press conference yesterday he may even have to name 3 goalkeepers in his squad because Krul is a doubt.
Yeah, I saw that. And I think the comment that made me laugh is, he said we can't even park the bus because we've got no defenders. So, they're going to go out, they're going to try and attack Manchester City, and Manchester City are going to maul them. They're going to absolutely maul them. I'd be surprised and very impressed if Norwich keep the winning margin for City under 3 goals.
Yeah, I mean, we all know how good Charlie Nicholas is at predictions. Wink, wink. He's predicted Man City 6-2.
6-2.
Yeah, because he feels that Timu Pukki will get a couple. Because City will go out and score 5 in the first half, take the foot off the gas, then Norwich get a couple back. Consolations, not going to happen, but it's an interesting concept.
It's not going to happen. You're right.
I mean, I was listening to his press conference yesterday, and he come out with something along the lines of, we had more players in the physio's room than we did on the training pitch.
Wow.
which is just. But a team like Norwich, I feel that they should, regardless of who's injured and who's not, I feel that they should go and attack Man City.
Yeah, it's a free game, isn't it? It's a free
You'd
game for
rather
them.
go and win. You'd rather go and lose 4-1 and attack and play the way that you've played the entire season, rather than go there, park the bus, not have a single shot on goal and
Yeah.
lose 1-0.
I
It's just
think
boring. It's
they'll
not
still.
Premier
I
League
think
now.
no. I think they'll still lose 4-0 if they go there and park the bus. So it's a free hit. They come up. They've got more points than people thought they were going to get, myself included. And
I mean, to be fair, they did play Newcastle.
yeah, I know. But it's interesting because Liverpool are playing Newcastle today, and that's a game that,
Double figures.
yeah, you'd expect that, but then I also wouldn't be surprised to see dogged Newcastle side just kind of grind it out. I think they're going to lose. Don't get it wrong, but I think
I mean, we have to take into account that this is at Anfield, right?
it is at Anfield, and Liverpool Newcastle at Anfield has traditionally thrown up some really interesting results. Now, historically the clubs have been much closer in terms of kind of capability. There's a bigger division between Newcastle and Liverpool now than there's ever been, really. Certainly in the Premier League
Well,
era.
yeah, because Newcastle are a Championship side.
with a Championship manager, I'll give
They're
them
here.
that.
They're here on merit. They're not here for anything else.
Yeah, for sure.
No, I mean, now Sadio Mane and Salah have kissed and made up. I do fear for Newcastle. I can see it pushing towards the double figures.
I wouldn't be surprised.
It will not stop. They are ruthless in front of goal.
Yeah, they are. They've probably got the
If they
best
stop being
three.
ruthless in front of goal, Jurgen Klopp, you'll be able to hear him from London. He'll be shouting that loud.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I do fear for Newcastle, but
I've got an interesting question for you. It's not related to Newcastle or Liverpool, but it certainly is related to the Premier League. Chelsea Wolves at Wolves at Molineux. Wolves traditionally, I say traditionally, last year they took more points off of the top six than anybody else. Who's going to win? What's your prediction?
Chelsea are holding a big L that day. Ooh, no, wait, they struggled against Norwich.
Oh, yeah, they did.
You think they're going to go to Europa League bound Wolves?
Do you know
and
what?
Get a result?
I don't know, because well, that's the thing. Wolves are one of those clubs that they'll beat Man United or they'll draw with Man U. They'll pick up points against City, Arsenal, Chelsea, Tottenham, and then they'll nick a win or a draw against Burnley and teams like that. So they tend to raise their game. I've got a feeling that Chelsea are gonna surprise a few people. I don't want to eat my words, but I'd back a Chelsea win. But I can see a scenario and a situation where Wolves pummel them.
Before you do kind of come out with your prediction, take into consideration that Frank Lampard's the manager at Chelsea. He's playing the exact same system that he played at Derby last year, which was predictable as hell anyway last year, and he's come up into the Premier League and tried to do the same thing with a completely different group of players who last season didn't even know what the word pressing was. And now they're trying to play this ultra high pressing style of football. And you can see by the 70th minute, the whole team is knackered. Because they're not used to pressing. They haven't got that level of fitness that they need to be able to do that. And I do feel that Chelsea are going to struggle to stay top half this season if they keep some results like they have been.
I think at some point they'll gel. I know they haven't really got firepower in their ranks at the moment. Giroud will always get you 10 goals a season.
Why would they need to gel? They haven't signed anyone.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but they haven't signed anyone, but their starting lineup is still different from last year. They've lost Hazard.
With the exception of Hazard leaving, the lineup shouldn't have changed. Realistically.
Well, Higuain's not there. Up front, their firepower is limited.
I'd rather have my mum up front than start Higuain. Jesus Christ, that guy is terrible.
And I'll vouch for Ben's mum's ball skills. Don't worry.
Oh, okay, that's that's way too. Need to have a conversation.
That's nasty.
Oh boy, here we go again. But yeah, I mean, moving on from the West London people. Yeah, leave them over there. The sixth place derby.
Are they in sixth?
No, I'm talking about Manchester United and Leicester.
There we go.
Listen, I mean, all I'm going to say is for United fans, they need to temper their aspirations because they're not in a position to challenge for the league and they're barely in a position to challenge for the top four.
I
Um,
don't think they'll get top four at all.
they've invested heavily, but they've also sold players. Um, and they are a weaker side than they were last season, despite
Yeah,
investing.
I'd agree with that. I think obviously centre back Harry Maguire and right back Wan-Bissaka is the only areas that they have improved. But midfield, they're weak. They're fragile in midfield, and up front they're experienced. So I think you're right. I think you are right. They are a weaker team on paper, but also on the pitch than they were last season.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, with Leicester, oh, sorry, bear with me a second. Yeah, I mean, with Leicester, they're unbeaten, sitting in third place in the league, and since the appointment of Brendan Rodgers, Jamie Vardy has scored more Premier League goals than any other Premier League player.
Vardy's good. I used to think he was all speed and power. Never scored a good goal. All of his goals were just 3 yards away from the keeper, and he absolutely smashed the ball home. So the keeper can't even see it. But he's shown a lot of improvements from when he first come into the Premier League. He scores a lot of good goals. He's very aware on where the goals are, where the keeper is, and how to beat him. He's a very good striker. He should be in the England squad. He should be playing for England. I don't think we've got a more effective striker all round than him. I'm not saying he's our best goal scorer. I'm not saying he's our most trickiest player to play against. But in terms of what he offers as an outlet, his energy and his goal scoring, I think he should be higher up in Southgate's thoughts.
I mean, I've seen Jamie Vardy talk about the England in interviews, and the feeling with Jamie Vardy is he can't commit and play for his country when his country don't play the system that he needs to score goals.
Yeah, sure. That's
They
a fair
want to play
comment.
out from the back. They want to pass the ball through midfield. Then they want to get it wide and get balls into the box. Give Vardy a ball over the top. 99 times out of 100 it's a goal.
Yeah, for sure. I'd agree with that.
And England will not play that style of football because it's not pretty enough. That's the reality of it.
As an England fan, would you trade in, the style of play for wins and trophies?
I mean, in terms of players, would you swap Vardy for Kane? Yes.
Oh, you went there.
I don't like him. I really don't like him.
You went there. I wouldn't swap Vardy for Kane just because I think Kane is going to score you goals even when he's not in the game. Kane can score all sorts of goals, but he's also very good link-up play. I know you don't like him, and I recognise why you don't like him. I can accept that, he is into skullduggery. He does try and con people, I guess, but you can't argue with his output.
I'm not being funny, right? For someone that is the size of Kane, he's a pretty built guy.
Yeah.
Why would you even think to try and deceive a referee? I can't understand it. You're not gonna deceive a referee. Like, why even try? And like the one thing I will say is I will give massive respect to the referee that was in charge of Newcastle against Spurs at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, because Harry Kane tried to dive for a penalty and the ref wouldn't give it. And that's probably one of the only times I've actually seen someone turn around to Kane and say, "No, that's not a penalty. Get up."
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much it for the Premier League. I don't think there's any other interesting games. To be fair,
not really. I think you've got West Ham Villa on Monday, which should be a decent game. I think
it's a
West Ham
relegation
team.
6-pointer, to be fair.
Do you know what? You say that, yeah. And as much as I'd love that to be true, I think West Ham have been playing pretty well this season. They haven't always got the results, but they're actually playing some decent football.
Yeah, I mean, I was reading something on Sky Sports yesterday, and it really got West Ham fans riled up on Twitter, and it was the fact that VAR, like the Premier League, had come out and said VAR had made mistakes.
There was 4 of them, wasn't it?
I think they made 4 mistakes. I'm just trying to find the article. But I know one of them was Sebastian Haller's penalty against Norwich, which wasn't awarded,
Yeah.
where he's literally, I think he's flicked the ball in between 2 players, gone through the middle of them, and then been absolutely taken out. And the foul just wasn't given, and it was just ridiculous. But now, like, West Ham fans are like, if we don't get into Europe because of one goal, they're saying sorry isn't going to mean a lot to us.
For sure.
Fair enough.
But then, rewind back to West Ham surviving on the final day in Sheffield United going down.
Yeah.
It's karma, isn't it? So,
mate, I hold a special place of hate for Sheffield United. I can't help it.
What was the other decisions that they got wrong? I know one was.
I'm trying to find the article.
I know.
Find it.
There was a goal that Newcastle had scored against them. That was handball. That shouldn't have counted. But I think
4
VAR
mistakes.
was.
There we go.
Yeah,
I found it.
Go on.
Right. So. Yeah. So, well, to be fair, in VAR, there's 227 incidents that have been checked. 6 on-field decisions have been changed, and 10 decisions that should have been overturned. So you can't say that VAR doesn't work.
No, I guess it's more accurate than the actual referees and his assistants, but it was brought in on the proviso that it was going to get every decision correct. It was going to completely eradicate incorrect decisions. It was going to right every wrong.
Yeah. Okay. So I found the mistakes. So Fabian Schär's equaliser for Newcastle against Watford. Leicester midfielders Yuri Tielemans' apparent stamp on Callum Wilson.
That was a stamp, by the way.
Yeah. The decision
Nothing
to not
apparent
give
about
Manchester
it.
City a penalty when Jefferson Lerma stood on David Silva's foot in the Bournemouth game.
What was the score in that game in the end?
Man City won. That's what.
Yeah, I think it was 3-1, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. And and the decision not to give West Ham a penalty when Sebastian Haller was brought down by Norwich's Tom Tribal.
Yeah.
Now, it's very interesting because I think VAR works.
Yeah.
It is quite funny when you see the older players in like friendlies and stuff like charity games, and they don't get a decision, and they're trying to do the VAR fingers.
Yeah, sure.
It is. I think in the long run, it's going to be the best thing for the Premier League moving forward, because it is taking the flack off of the referees.
Yeah, sure. I agree with that.
You haven't got people with pitchforks trying to find where the referee is to go and chase him down. You're blaming a system as opposed to a person.
Yeah, sure. But then, as somebody who watches a lot of football and has seen VAR in action for the good and the bad, now it's kind of embedded and everybody's getting used to it. How would you improve it?
Don't know. Give Arsenal the decisions, to be fair.
Yeah,
I mean, the thing is, back in the day with referees, you could pay them, and you can have the decision. Nowadays, you can't pay a machine.
No, for sure.
So you're stuck either way. But no, I mean, it's difficult. It's definitely a difficult situation to be in, especially with VAR. But obviously, it's a learning curve. It is gonna get better, but we just have to give it time. But yeah, I mean, moving on to, I think one thing that I definitely wanted to cover today, is Raheem Sterling drawing comparisons with Ronaldo and Messi, and people essentially naming him the 3rd best player in the world.
I mean, I think that's a bit strong, and to draw comparisons with Ronaldo and Messi is a little outrageous. I think in terms of Sterling at Liverpool versus Sterling at City, and now Sterling at City under Pep, there's a marked improvement. He's getting a lot more goals. He's a lot more intelligent. He knows how to play football. and he's very direct, and there's no doubting that he gets results. His numbers continuing to improve.
No, definitely. I mean,
To the
in
point
terms,
where he's compared to Ronaldo and Messi, though. I think that must have been his sister that kind of wrote that article. But I agree. I think in terms of how he's performing at the moment, he's certainly up in the upper echelons of
I mean,
of
if you look at
footballers.
the European qualifiers, in the 1920 season, he's played 4 goals, played 4 matches, scored 6 goals, and got 4 assists.
Yeah, but I mean,
So
England have scored like 18, 19 goals in those qualifiers as well. So, you know,
this is true. I mean,
it's it. No, but you're right. I'm not trying to discredit him. I think he's a great player. I think he's improving every season. And he's performing for City and now he's doing it for England. Whereas before, he'd have a run of great games for Man City. He'd put on the England shirt and he'd freeze. And the media criticize him and probably don't make it easy for him. But I think he's learned how to kind of take that frustration with some of the press that he gets and kind of really use that to fire him up and get better results. He's certainly
yeah,
one of the most improved footballers for
no,
sure,
definitely. I
100%. He
mean,
deserves that accolade.
yeah, I mean, for me, it's when I look at stats, I don't look at all these other extra competitions. I'm looking purely at the Premier League, and I'm looking at someone like Raheem Sterling, who scored 35 goals in 2 seasons as a
Yeah,
winger, and then he's also chipped in with 21 assists.
yeah, sure.
So he is improving year on year. And I think as long as he remains under Pep, I think he is going to keep improving, and I think he is going to reach that level. Because when Ronaldo and Messi do eventually retire, who are we going to be looking to?
No, sure. But then, is reaching that level, kind of chipping in with goals and assists for 2 seasons, 3 seasons, or is it, doing it for 15 seasons, 20 seasons? I think, to even be mentioned in the same breath with them, you have to be very, very, very consistent. Now
Yeah,
he's
no,
young,
definitely.
he's young enough to continue to do that, and if he gets to that stage, then absolutely he deserves those comparisons. But I think you're comparing a Mercedes or a BMW with a Vauxhall Corsa at the moment.
I know, but one thing you do have to take into account as well is he's only 24.
Sure.
He's pulling off these stats at 24,
Sure.
and he's getting better. You
Yeah.
can see that there's a stark contrast in how he played. How he's playing this season compared to how he played last season.
Yeah. I agree
You
with
can
that.
see that there has been improvement, and he can only get better. He can't. You can't. You, under Pep,
I hope so.
under
I hope
someone
so.
like Pep Guardiola, your standards do not slip.
Yeah.
If your standards slip, you are no longer playing for the Man City.
Yeah.
It's as
Sure.
simple as that. Look at Claudio Bravo.
Yeah.
That ended well.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I agree with you. And as an Englishman, I'd like to see him do well. 100%. I want to see him continue, even if that means that City continue to compete for the Premier League, the Champions League, and every other trophy.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much it. I mean, I think I've covered everything that I wrote down.
There you
Um,
go. You wrote stuff down, so you're decidedly more prepared than I am.
it's not hard really.
No, it's not, and I'm trying to put my shin pads on as I'm recording it. So I've got a football game 2 p.m. Kickoff. I would plug it, but by the time this is out, nobody's gonna have
And
heard
you're
it to
gonna,
come.
yep, and you're gonna drag me along to watch as well, which should be
I'm
fun.
I'm coming to pick you up, mate. So there's no
Well,
excuses.
keep an eye on the Instagram, and well, yeah, I mean, this podcast is gonna go out literally as soon as we finish recording, so
Yeah.
keep an eye on the Instagram, and you might see a few pictures of Ben in a football kit.
No pictures. No pictures. No pictures at all. I need a trim. I need to shed some pounds. No pictures. But Lymore Gardens to the world. There we go.
Yeah, for sure, man. But yeah, I mean, do you want to speak about the Fury fight, or is it even worth it?
I mean, it's not really worth it. Fury is fighting tonight, 2 o'clock, on BT Sports box office, I believe. And he's fighting
Against another
any,
boom.
yeah, basically anybody that you've ever seen down the pub. That's who he's fighting. He's going to win. He's going to win convincingly. He's going to call out everybody. And I sound like I'm not a Fury fan. And to be honest, I quite like him as a person. I think he's funny. He's got some good morals. But he throws shade at everybody else for fighting bums, and is proceeding to fight his second bum in a row. So
I mean, on the plus side, at least he's gone into a pub and said, I want to fight you. And he didn't just go in there and punch the old geezer that's sitting in the bar.
No. Can you imagine Fury and McGregor in the ring? Fury, oh my God, Fury would absolutely sit on him. He would sit on him. But I quite like.
To be fair, Fury looks very trim going into this fight.
Yeah, he does. I think he's certainly in a good place mentally, which kind of helps. And in terms of preparation, as you say, he looks good. He feels good, and he will win, and he'll look good winning. But that's the only thing I don't like. He wants to discredit other people for fighting, as he says, bums or dossers, and then proceeds to fight them himself. If Anthony Joshua fought Otto Watling, he'd get crucified. If Deontay Wilder fought Otto Watling, he'd get crucified. And I just think he should step up his level of opposition, because he is in the top 3 heavyweights out there at the moment. And I don't agree with this whole lineal championship. That's not even a piece of paper. That's 100% fabricated.
If you beat the guy that had all the belts, and then you don't get beaten, you're the lineal champion. It doesn't matter.
But if you beat the guy that had all the belts and then start taking drugs, living completely against the code of conduct that boxers agree to be held accountable against, then you deserve to be stripped of the physical titles.
Hold on, let me stop you there, because yes, he done drugs. Yes, he was drinking. Did he do it in competition?
No.
He done it on his own time, outside of boxing.
Did he fight after he beat Klitschko? Was he training? Was he organising fights? Was he trying to defend his belts?
No, because he had mental health issues.
Right, so then if he has mental health issues and he's drinking and he's doing drugs and he's not competing, he's not trying to defend his belts, the governing bodies can't let the belts be tied up by someone who's not willing to defend them and represent them.
Which is fair enough. They took the belts off of him, which is fair enough. They're well within their rights to do so. But
that means he's no longer the lineal champ. The lineal champ doesn't mean anything.
Yes, he is, because the lineal champ, you have to beat the guy that had all the belts last.
Was Klitschko the lineal champ? Did he run around with an imaginary belt saying, yes, I've got all of these physical belts, but I'm also this fake belt holder?
I understand where you're coming from, but the lineal championship is the reason he's got a belt. It's a promotional tool. It sells fights.
He doesn't have a belt. He's made it up.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. He's had a belt made, but it's a promotional tool. It's a marketing tool. It sells fights. Go and look at his Instagram story and find out how many views he gets on it.
I'm sure he gets tons.
I'm
sure he gets tons. But I could be the lineal champion and defend it against Otto Watling. So no,
I mean, to be fair, if you keep keeping clean sheets, I might just get you a belt.
Get me one. I'm the lineal goalkeeping clean sheet guy of.
And
London
then if you concede, I'll give the belt to the striker that scores against you.
Yeah, give it to him. He deserves it. He deserves it. But I will be willing to risk losing my lineal belt against good quality opposition every Saturday and Sunday. So at least I'm trying to be competitive, I guess. And I'm not cussing Tyson Fury, Ben. I like Tyson Fury. I think his performance against Deontay Wilder, coming from where he did come from, I didn't like him really that much going into that fight, but since then I've been a fan of his, and I want to see him do well.
Listen, for me, since day one, he's always been a cocky shit. That's just me being honest. But the fact is, he was a cocky shit before he had all these issues with his mental health, and now he's become an advocate for mental health.
Sure, and I respect him for that.
And you look at his rise to prominence again from the position that he was in, where he was talking about he was on the verge of committing suicide, and to be able to work yourself back from that brink back to the top of the game.
Yeah, sure.
And to now be
inspirational, absolutely inspirational. I completely agree with you.
The thing that really frustrates me more than anything is the fact that the boxing fans are like, oh, he's fighting all these bums, and I've said it myself.
You said it 10 minutes ago.
Why is he fighting all these bums? But he went into that Deontay Wilder fight with no warm up.
Yeah, sure. Well, not really. He fought a bum, but you're right.
He had one warm up fight and then
Yeah.
went and took one of the belt
Yeah,
holders.
for sure. Took him to points and beat him. You know, he
And he
didn't
was
get.
out of the ring for what, 2, 3
Yeah,
years?
and he was still chunky. He was still chunky, and he was still rusty, and
He
he
was
got a draw.
definitely trying to keep it funky, just like
Yeah,
me.
I know. There we go.
No, I mean, listen, I mean,
That was a good performance. That's what I'm saying. You know,
it's a good
I was.
performance. Fury's going to win tonight. Then he's going to fight Deontay Wilder again. Deontay Wilder will lose.
I wouldn't be surprised, and I know this is devil's advocate a little bit, but I wouldn't be surprised if Wilder didn't beat Ortiz. I know he can. He can absolutely concussively knock him out. But Ortiz knows how to box, and he did wobble Wilder in the seventh last time they fought.
Okay. So before we give you a prediction on this one, let's just have a look. Let's just pull up the highlights of the Wilder versus Brazil fight. Oh wait, there weren't any because
Yeah, I
Brazil
know.
got knocked out inside 30 seconds.
Brazil got spun. He did get spun, and it was concussive
That
as
wasn't
well.
that wasn't got spun. He got pulled out of there on a stretcher.
Yeah,
It's game over. He was
for real.
sleeping.
Wilder folded him like a paper duck. I'll give you that.
He got folded like a piece of paper and then thrown out of the arena. It was just
Yeah,
that was it. He was finished.
that
I've
that
never
was
seen
that was
someone
bad.
knocked out stiff like that.
Yeah, that wasn't.
Like he had turned into a statue before he even hit the floor. Like it was just like whoa. Okay.
Mad.
Yeah, no, but definitely. I mean, there's not much else for us to talk about, but let's wrap it up here. Obviously, make sure to follow us on the socials. We're going to be starting up a blog in the next couple of weeks where we kind of post articles here and there about different sports.
Sure.
Can be things that we cover in the podcast. Sometimes it won't be because obviously there's only a certain amount of time we can record the podcasting because we're both really busy.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, obviously, make sure to follow us on the socials. Everything will be in the description below.
Sure.
Yeah, I'll see you guys next.
Yeah, we're also looking for contributors as well. So if you want to be part of the team, you want to create some content for the blog, or you've got something interesting that you'd like to discuss and join us as a guest, feel free to reach out either on Twitter, Instagram. You can find us online, Winging It Pod. Just reach out. It'd be good to network with other people and hear your views and opinions.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, DM, Instagram, Twitter. If you go onto our Twitter, we've got our email address on there as well. So if you want to send us an email, you're more than welcome to. But I think we're going to wrap it up here.
Yeah. See you next week, guys.
Yeah, we'll see you next week. Bye.